Hello, my name is Jeff. My colleagues and I are active in the local AP Computer Science class, and we've been in the process of setting up some demos like the one I'm recording for you today to help you understand how to use a debugger in the DrJava environment. So hopefully this will be helpful. You'll find the URL to source code we are using down here at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to pull that source code and follow along as we debug today, or as you want to try things after the video. Today's file that we're using is the debugger.java file, and if we simply run this program, it's a very simple program. It enters here at main, it does a print of hello world, it sets a maximum value of 10, so it makes a number of, or it loops 10 times, calling into this concatenate and print. In the concatenate and print, it prints that index that it used to come in, and it builds a string that it returns simply of the index and a comma if it's not the last one. It returns that string, which gets appended into this test string, which finally we print the final test string at the end. If we run it without the debugger, we simply see that the code, as we described, prints hello world, tells us each time it gets into the concatenate and print, and then prints the final string. Rather simple program. Alright, so let's use the debugger on this program. Before we get started using the debugger, you need to make sure you have a Java Development Toolkit loaded. You can see that by clicking on the Compiler tab in the bottom pane and ensuring your compiler has the 3 letters JDK in there somewhere. If it says Eclipse, if it says JRE, you do not have a Java Developer Toolkit loaded, and you'll have to spend a little time Googling that and figuring out how to do that for your environment. This video is not going to cover that. So that is the first thing you need to verify. If you do have a JDK, simply make sure you select it from your list and you're ready to continue. The next thing I like to do is make sure that I have line numbers displayed beside my program. To do that, I go into Edit, I go to Preferences, I come down to the display options and make sure I have this box checked on Show All Line Numbers. So we'll check that, we'll say OK, and look, line numbers now appear to the left of our program. So let's begin. How do we debug this program? Well, the first thing you have to do is put the runtime environment into debug mode. We find that up underneath the debugger environment, left click on that, come down to the debug mode, left click on that, and voila. Down here we get a new pane that appears with 2 tabs, stacks and threads. For the time being, we'll leave it on stacks. And now if we go up to the debugger environment, we see a black diamond here. That's how we know we're in debugger mode, is we have a black diamond there and we have this window open. If we close that window, let's look what happens to our debugger mode. Ooh, we no longer have a black diamond. So when that window is open, we know we're in debug mode and we're ready to debug our program. The first thing we know, or we need to know about a debugger, is the way that we begin to gather information and learn things is by stopping execution. We stop execution with a breakpoint. Let's assume we want to stop execution right here on line 30 after we printed hello world, and therefore we need to set a breakpoint on line 30. To do that, we go down to line 30, right click on the line and go down to toggle breakpoint, and now we have a red line. That whole line is highlighted in red. We have a new tab created at the bottom that says breakpoints, tells us it's line 30, shows us where that is in the code, and there's a breakpoint. Now let's see how we remove that breakpoint. Well, of course we could do a remove all down here, or we could come back up and again right click on that line of code, toggle breakpoint, and it disappears. No longer below, no longer highlighted in red. So for the sake of what we're doing for our debugging, let's put the breakpoint back and let's execute our program. Now if we execute our program, we see the statement hello world, which was printed just before, and now we, in our interactions pane, see that we've hit a breakpoint, tells us what class. It's in class debugger. That matches the class up in line 24. Our line 30 is now green, and it says that's where the breakpoint has been hit, line 30. And in our stacks tab here, we see right at the top that we're in debugger.main. There's that class name again. What routine? The main routine. Yes, that's what we expect. Debugger main, line 30. And this is essentially the stack of what we've called. Now, we don't have a sophisticated call stack. Most of the things we see below are runtime environments, but this could be helpful, knowing where your routine was called from if you were nesting many layers deep. All right, let's set another breakpoint. Down here at line 36, we'll right-click, toggle breakpoint, and the next thing we want to do is how do we get from 30 to 36? If we did run, it would take us back, reset everything, and set 30. But the key thing we need to do is over here in this window. Let's just do a resume. That looks most important at this point, or most applicable at this point. And now we see that line 36 has been hit. Line 30 has gone back to being red. That breakpoint still exists. If we were to come back and re-execute through there, it could stop there. And 36 exists as well. We've stopped there now. We see that again, line 36. We also see what we expect from the program, which is our 10 calls into our concatenate and print line, but we haven't yet printed this final statement. And if we resume one more time, the program will end execution. Final string contents are printed out as expected by the program, and we're in breakpoints. Breakpoints still set. We can see those both up above in our code as well as here on our breakpoints tab. And so we can begin to execute again. Run. Find out that we've hit breakpoint line 30 again. Resume should take us to line 36. And resume one more time. We'll complete it. And that is how we do it. Now assume one final trick. If you want to get past remove all breakpoints, you can do that, and they will disappear. And one final thing. Let's assume I make a mistake. I'm not in debugger mode. I've closed the debugger window, thinking it was just going away, but yet I've decided I want to set a breakpoint on line 30. Breakpoint shows me the breakpoint set on line 30. When I run, what happens? It runs clear to the end of execution. What's going on here? Maybe it just missed it. I'll try run again. Runs clear to the end. I'm missing my breakpoint. Something's not right. This is where one begins to question their own intelligence or the computer. Go back up, check your debug mode. The diamond is not set. This window is not open. I wasn't in debug mode, but yet it allowed me to set breakpoints. Now let's see what happens when I'm in debug mode, black diamond is set, and I run. There we go, we hit the breakpoint. I'm not going insane. I'm not crazy. It's now working. It's an oddity of this environment. So if you start missing breakpoints, make sure you're in debugger mode. Make sure you have this window open. If not, go up, set debugger mode. That'll get you the window you need to be able to do resumes, show you the breakpoints. Hope this is helpful. Happy debugging, and look for more videos with more tips. Have a good day.